Hi, I'm Jacob Gallucci, and right now I'd like to present the track list for Rock and Roll Roots Volumes 37 and 38. And as of now, I've presented the track list for Volumes 27 to 36. And I have 6 more volumes to present. This month I'm doing 37 and 38. Next month I'm doing Volumes 39 and 40. And then in August I'm doing the last 2 volumes, 41 and 42. Anyway, here's volume 37. Track number 1 is Hey Bulldog by Fanny, and this song's from 1972. And Fanny was an all-female rock band. They're very underrated. Their big song was Charity Ball, and that was on a Bob Stroud Rock and Roll Roots album many years ago, volume 3. And their version of Hey Bulldog is really good. It was originally by the Beatles, and it was on their 1969 album, Yellow Submarine, and it's an underrated Beatles song, and Fanny does a good job with it. It's a good cover, it really is. Track number 2 is I See the Light by the Five Americans, and this song's from 1966, and this was actually their first hit. It came out a year before Western Union. Western Union was a bigger hit than this, but I See the Light actually was a pretty big hit too. It's a good song, but I think Western Union's better. The third song is Girls by Dwight Twilley, and this song's from 1984, and this is his only top 40 hit as a solo artist. He had a hit 9 years earlier with I'm on Fire. That song's from 1975, and that was on an earlier Rock and Roll Roots album of mine, actually. And Girls isn't a bad song. It's a forgotten gem, I think. Absolutely. The fourth song is Handbags and Glad Rags by Chase, and this song's from 1971. And Chase is a local group. They had horns in their band, and their big song was Get It On. That was on a Bob Stroud Rock and Roll Roots album many years ago, Volume 1. And a couple of their other songs were on earlier albums of mine as well. And this song was written by, actually, believe it or not, Michael Dabo, Olivia's father, yeah. Olivia Dabo, of course, she's an actress. She was Kevin Arnold's older sister Karen on The Wonder Years, and she's been in a lot of other TV shows and movies over the years, like Law and Order and Wayne's World 2, The Big Green, among other things. And their version of Handbags and Glad Rags isn't bad. Rod Stewart did the song too. His version's good, and this is a good cover, though. It really is. The fifth song is Girl Watcher by The Occasions, and this song's from 1968. And this song is a great example of blue-eyed soul. These guys are white. They were actually white, but they sound black. It's a good song. It really is. And this is sadly their only top 40 hit, so they're a one-hit wonder. And it's a good song, it really is. Track number 6 is Spirits in the Night by Manfred Mann's Earth Band, and this song's from 1975. And this song was originally by Bruce Springsteen. It was on his debut album from 1973, Greetings from Asbury Park, New Jersey. Manfred Mann's Earth Band's cover is really good. Springsteen's is good, but I think both versions are really good. It's hard to say which one's better. I think they're both really good. It's one of 3 Bruce Springsteen songs from his debut album that they covered. They also covered, most famously, Blinded by the Light and also For You. And those songs were on earlier Rock and Roll Roots albums of mine as well as earlier hits by Manfred Mann, Do-Wah Diddy and The Mighty Quinn. Okay, the 7th song is Love's Made a Fool of You by the Bobby Fuller 4, and this song's from 1966. And this was their follow-up to I Fought the Law. I Fought the Law was on an earlier Rock and Roll Roots album of mine, and that was a huge hit. Love's Made a Fool of You was a hit too. It made the top 40 as well, and it's a good song. It's very underrated, and believe it or not, the song was originally done by Buddy Holly. Yeah, Buddy Holly. I Fought the Law was actually originally a Cricket song, but it was a Cricket song after Buddy Holly died. Love's Made a Fool of You was actually a Buddy Holly song, though. Buddy Holly's version, it's slower and it has the Bo Diddley beat. I think the remake by the Bobby Fuller 4 is even better. I really do. I think they improved on Buddy Holly's original. Alright, track number 8 is Canned Ham by Norman Greenbaum, and this song's from 1970. And this was his follow-up to Spirit in the Sky. Spirit in the Sky was on a Bob Stroud album, Volume 4 actually, and Canned Ham just missed the top 40. It's not a bad song. It's like a cross between country rock, folk rock, and novelty almost. It's an unusual song. It's not bad though. It should be more well known than it is. Okay, the 9th song is I'm Gonna Make You Mine by The Shadows of Night, and this song's from 1966. And The Shadows of Night were a local group, and their big song was Gloria. And this song, I'm Gonna Make You Mine, it may be the first hard rock, heavy metal, and punk rock song. The song was way ahead of its time, it really was. It's a damn good song. But sadly, it just made the Billboard Hot 100. It didn't make the top 40, but it just cracked the Billboard Hot 100. It's a good song, it really is. It should be more well-known than it is. The 10th song is Love is Alive by Gary Wright, and this song's from 1975. And this song was from the Dreamweaver album as well. The title track was a big hit, and so was Love is Alive. Love is Alive is a pretty good song, too. I think Dreamweaver's better, but Love is Alive is good, too. And of course, before this, Gary Wright was in the band Spooky Tooth, and they're very underrated. They really are. The 11th song is You Were On My Mind by We Five, and this song's from 1965. They're a folk rock group from back then, and this is their one big hit. And it's not a bad song, it's really not. Okay, last but not least, the 12th and final track is They Can't Take Away Our Music by War. And this song's from 1970. And this is from when Eric Burdon was actually still in the group. And this is their second biggest hit with Eric Burdon as their lead vocalist after Spill the Wine. Spill the Wine was a top 5 hit. And They Can't Take Away Our Music, it just missed the top 40. It peaked at number 50. It's a good song, it really is. It should be more well known than it is. And anyway, that was Volume 37, and now here's Volume 38. The opening track is Slow Down by Crow, and this song's from 1970. And this song was originally done by Larry Williams, and it was also famously covered by the Beatles. The Beatles version's on their Long Tall Sally EP, and John Lennon's the lead vocalist on it, and this cover of Slow Down by Crow is very good, but I think the Beatles cover's better. And the original by Larry Williams, I think, is the definitive version, actually. I would say Williams' original is the definitive one, absolutely. The second song is Mr. Farmer by The Seeds, and this song's from 1966. And this is a garage rock classic. It didn't make the top 40, but it did make the Billboard Hot 100. It just made the Hot 100. It's a good song. It's not as good as Pushing Too Hard and Can't Seem to Make You Mine, but it's a good song too. It really is. Pushing Too Hard was on a Bob Stroud album, Volume 4, and Can't Seem to Make You Mine was on one of my albums a while back, and Mr. Farmer's not bad, but it's not as good as those two songs. Okay, the third song is I've Been Wrong by the Buckinghams, and this song's from 1967, and they were a local group. They were around in the late 60s, and the song's not bad. It's not as good as their big hits like Kind of a Drag or Mercy, Mercy, Mercy or Susan, but it's not bad. It was a local hit, but nationally it didn't do much. Okay, track number 4 is Precious to Me by Phil Seymour, and this song's from 1980. And he's a power pop legend, he really is. He was originally in the Dwight Twilley Band, and their big hit was I'm on Fire, and that song came out in 1975. And that was on an earlier rock and roll roots album of mine, and Girls by Dwight Twilley was on the previous rock and roll roots album of mine, Volume 37. And this was Phil Seymour, Precious to Me by Phil Seymour. That was his only top 40 hit, actually, as a solo artist, yes. It's a good song. It's underrated. It's not bad. I like it. The fifth song is But It's Alright by J.J. Jackson, and this song's from 1966. And this is his only top 40 hit, so he's a one-hit wonder, and this is a good song, it really is. And The Clash ripped it off years later for their song Train in Vain. Train in Vain was on their 1979 album London Calling, and it has the same melody as this song. It sounds exactly like it. But It's Alright, it's a good song, though. Train in Vain's good, too. They're both good, but The Clash ripped it off. They definitely did. Okay, track number 6 is Thank You for Being a Friend by Andrew Gold, and this song's from 1978. And this is his second biggest hit behind Lonely Boy. And this song was famously the theme for the TV show The Golden Girls. But that version was re-recorded by a lady named Cynthia Fee. And this is the original one, written and performed by Andrew Gold, and it's not a bad song. I think Lonely Boy is a better song, but Thank You for Being a Friend isn't bad. The seventh song is I Need Somebody by Question Mark and the Mysterians, and this song's from 1966. And this was their follow-up to 96 Tears. 96 Tears was a huge hit. And I Need Somebody actually made the top 40 as well. It's not bad. It's not as good as 96 Tears, but it's a good song. It should be more well-known than it is. Track number 8 is Werewolf by the Five Man Electrical Band, and this song's from 1974. And they were a Canadian group, and Signs was on an earlier Rock and Roll Roots album of mine, and Absolutely Right was on a Stroud album, Volume 6. Those were their two top 40 hits. Werewolf was their third biggest hit. It peaked at number 64 on the charts in 1974, and it's not a bad song. It's not as good as Signs or Absolutely Right, but it's not bad. It's decent. The ninth song is Any Way That You Want Me by The American Breed, and this song's from 1968. And they were a local group from the late 60s. Their big song was Bend Me, Shape Me, and they also had Step Out of Your Mind and Green Light. Those were their three top 40 hits, and Any Way That You Want Me didn't make the top 40, but it did make the Billboard Hot 100. It just made the Hot 100, and it's not a bad song. It's not as good as their three big hits, but it's okay. The 10th song is Get Me to the World on Time by the Electric Prunes, and this song's from 1967. And this was their follow-up to I Had Too Much to Dream Last Night. I Had Too Much to Dream Last Night was on a Stroud album, Volume 5, many years ago, and Get Me to the World on Time, it was their follow-up, and it's not a bad song. It actually did make the top 40. It wasn't as big of a hit as I Had Too Much to Dream Last Night, but it was a hit too. They're both from their self-titled debut album, The Electric Prunes, and the 11th song is Tarkio Road by Brewer and Shipley, and this song's from 1970. And this was their follow-up to One Toke Over the Line. And One Toke Over the Line was on an earlier Rock and Roll Roots album of mine, and Tarkio Road just missed the top 40. It peaked at number 55, I believe, and it's not a bad song. It's not as good as One Toke Over the Line, but it's not bad. Both songs, One Toke Over the Line and Tarkio Road, are from their 1970 album, Tarkio. And they were a folk rock duo. Those were their two hits, really. And the 12th and final track is Just a Little by the Beau Brummels, and this song's from 1965. And this was their follow-up to Laugh, Laugh. But Just a Little was a bigger hit, actually. Laugh Laugh made it to number 15, and Just a Little made it to number 8. And these were their two big hits. And they're from their debut album, Introducing the Beau Brummels. It's from 1965, and believe it or not, the album was produced by Sly Stone. Yeah, Sly Stone. And Just a Little's a really good song. I like it more than Laugh Laugh. I think it's better than Laugh Laugh. I really do. But Laugh Laugh's more famous, I think. But anyway, that was Volume 38, and I just presented Volumes 37 and 38 of Rock and Roll Roots, and okay, I'll be back next month with 2 new videos, and until then, take care.